evening. Welcome to the Court of Women. I'm the bailiff, and this is our courtroom.
Good evening. Welcome to the Court of Women. I'm the bailiff, and this is our courtroom.
Over here is the chair for the plaintiff, Anastasia, and here is the chair for her attorney.
Over here is the chair for the plaintiff, Anastasia, and here is the chair for her attorney.
And here are the chairs for the 5 defendants,
and here are the chairs for the 5 defendants, and
here is the chair for the defense attorney. Now, you'll notice how there is no judge's bench or jury box.
Now here is the chair for the defense attorney. Now you'll notice how there isn't any judge's bench or jury box.
Are you through?
Yeah.
That is because this is the women's court, and in the women's court,
that is because this is the women's court, and in the women's court.
Betty, what are you doing?
Betty, what are you doing?
Betty,
oh. Sorry, I was just imitating you.
Why?
Well, that was the bailiff's part, wasn't it?
You mean you don't know?
I can't remember anything.
Well, maybe you won't get the bailiff's part tonight.
Look, I don't want any of the parts.
How can you say that?
It's easy. I'm not an actor. I'm a stagehand.
But you know, in the Emma Goldman Theater Brigade, we don't observe hierarchy.
What does that have anything to do with making me act when I don't want to?
This isn't about making you act, Betty. It's about equal opportunity. It's the only way we can break out of the class structure of traditional theater.
But I hate being out here.
Why?
Well, because it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable because it is unfamiliar, and that is no accident. Don't you know, Betty, that what you feel comfortable with is not a choice at all, but a culturally conditioned response? It is the goal of the Emma Goldman Theater Brigade to break down these artificially imposed barriers between women and to liberate the spirit within all of us. The Emma Goldman Theater Brigade is smashing centuries of oppressive tradition in theater.
But we're supposed to memorize all the parts and the whole show.
Well, of course, Betty, that's because the only way to ensure the casting is fair is to use a lottery system. And the only way to use a lottery system is to make all the actors know all the parts.
But I can't remember any of the lines.
You did beautifully last night in dress rehearsal.
Yeah, that's because last night I was Anastasia, and she doesn't have any lines.
Well, maybe you'll get Anastasia again.
Look, I've been thinking about this. There are 9 parts in the show, right? Which means there's 9 chances to 1 that I might draw any particular role. Except, now that's changed, because I drew Anastasia last night, which means it's like an 81 to 1 chance that I draw her again. So I have a worse chance of getting her than you do, or than anyone does, because no one else is going to draw the same name 2 nights in a row either. So you see, it's not equal. I'm being discriminated against.
No, you're not. Diane brings a hat out, she mixes up all the names, and we all draw one. The hat doesn't know you drew Anastasia last night. The slips of paper don't know you drew Anastasia last night. Perfect equality.
Perfect equality. I bet Diane draws one of the attorney's parts tonight.
What makes you say that?
Because she's a complete and total control freak. Can you really see her settling on opening night for the role of Anastasia, a non-speaking role? The great Diane Anthony, founder and director of the legendary Theater Brigade.
The lottery was her idea.
And what better way to disguise the mechanics of her dictatorship than with a dramatic display of democracy? Oh, it brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it, the thought of her coming down among the ranks of the lowly actors to play Russian roulette with the casting.
Diane did not found this theater company to forward her career. If that was the case, she would be working in the mainstream instead of some small political women's theater.
And that's why she just so happens to be the head of the company.
She just so happens to be the head of the company because she does 99% of the work, or hadn't you noticed?
You just see. She's going to draw one of the attorney's parts tonight.
Then why don't you pass the hat?
Yeah, you pass the hat. Hold on. Here's $5. Here's 20. You take Anastasia's name out of the hat before we draw, and you give it to me. Please. Please. Please.
Oh,
please.
Oh,
Betty, what are you doing?
I was just...
She was getting into character.
Oh, which one?
Anastasia?
What makes you think you'll get Anastasia?
Nothing. In fact, I probably won't.
What are you doing with that money?
Oh, I was...
She was seeing what it'd feel like to be Anastasia and lose all her money. How does that make you feel, Betty?
Pretty ticked off.
Good. She's very serious about her acting.
Oh, that's good, because I just checked the reservation list, and the critics are going to be here tonight. Both of them.
What?
Really? They've never come to our shows before. I wonder what made them decide that.
Well, I don't know. but I really hope I get one of the good parts tonight.
They're all good parts.
Only some are more good than others.
Has anybody seen our celebrated playwright?
Athena, guess what? The critics are coming tonight. Both of them.
I know. I sent them the tickets.
You what?
I sent them the comp tickets in a brief but flattering note.
Who told you to do that?
No one. I thought it'd be good publicity for us to finally get reviewed.
Athena, I don't like that you did that without consulting the company.
But why? I'm glad they're coming.
Because we don't care what the patriarchy thinks of our theater.
But we should make use of the patriarchy anytime we can get it to serve our interests.
No, wrong. The idea of working within the system for a change has been the biggest boondoggle in the history of women's oppression. It's thinking like that has kept us from opening our own theaters and taking our own culture seriously.
Hey, if you don't like it, just don't read the reviews.
That's not the point.
Well, then what is?
Inviting the male gaze.
Ooh, the male gaze!
We are so trained to see ourselves through their eyes.
Speak for yourself.
Laugh now, but you can spend your life hanging on to the words of male critics or going to law school to study how to be just like them, but in the end, who is going to give you your identity?
Hey, that sounds like a show I was once in. It was a little political thing, one of those women's theater companies. What was it called?
The Anastasia trials in the Court of Women?
That's it. How did you know? Did you watch it?
No, but I read the reviews.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, the playwright, just who I needed to see.
What? Diane, guess what?
What?
The critics are coming tonight. Both of them.
That's nice. Look, is everybody here?
You see?
See what?
That's nice. Like she doesn't even care.
She doesn't.
I need to go over some changes in the script with you.
Changes? What? No changes? Hello?
We open in a few minutes. But these are important. If anybody in the audience knows anything
Guys,
about the
listen,
law-
please. Is everybody here?
I'm a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a playwright. But if anybody in the audience knows anything about the law, in the Court of Women, a whole different paradigm.
Listen! Trial! Who's not here?
Me. I'm not here.
What's the matter, hon?
I'm sick.
Oh.
I don't think I can go on.
I don't
You
think
can
I
part. Diane, I can't. Why are you talking to her? This is a collective. I went to bed with this headache last night, and then in the middle of the night, I woke up and I started vomiting, and I've been vomiting all day, and I had to pull over twice on the way to the theater.
Okay.
Only I haven't eaten all day, so it's not really solid. It's this kind of green, watery.
We can't cancel the show. The critics are going to be here.
Screw the critics.
I know. Why don't we give her Annie Jennings? She doesn't come on until the end of the second act. That way she could just lie down or vomit or whatever until the show's almost over, and by then she might be better.
But what about the lottery?
The whole point of the lottery was to empower the actors. I don't see how it's going to empower us to have an actor throw up in the middle of her lines.
Yeah, you see?
I just don't understand why
Excuse
we have to
me.
change this entire
Excuse me.
Guys, listen. Our playwright has something to say.
I added a new character to the
you
got
to be
kidding.
Please.
I added the character of Zenaida Tolstoy to the first act. I added a character of Zenaida to the first act so that the actor playing Annie Jennings in the second act can double as this new character, Zenaida.
The lines.
Betty?
And since no one's had time to learn the line,
Yeah, how could we? We've never even seen them.
I'll have to go on as Annie Jennings, which is why we cannot give her away.
Wait a minute. I don't like what I'm hearing. You mean after all of these months of coming up with a system of casting that's fair to everyone, we're just gonna throw it out of the window?
Oh, for Pete's sake, we're letting one woman play one role for one night. We have some special circumstances.
Yeah, special circumstances. You see? Special circumstances.
What? Special circumstances? Who is this Zenaida character anyways? We've been doing just fine without her. Why do we have to have her now?
Hey, it's 10 minutes to curtain.
I don't care if we have to hold up curtain. I don't care if we have to send the audience home. I agreed to do this show with a lottery system, and here it is. Opening night, and what do we see? Good old boys, special privileges, and as usual, the needs to set aside our principles for the sake of some internally manufactured crisis.
Is she talking about my diarrhea?
I have a question.
What?
Okay, if the playwright is adding a new character, is that character going to need to take the stand?
Yes.
Then won't the bailiff and the attorneys need extra lines?
Oh, no.
I've written those down so that they can just take them on as legal papers and refer to them as scripts when they need to. It's very simple.
There's nothing simple about this show. It's the most complicated play I've ever done.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, when you said we were doing a show about Anastasia, I thought it would be like that movie with Ingrid Bergman.
I saw that in Yul Brynner.
Only he was wearing that toupee.
I think it was his real hair. He was never really bald.
That's true.
That movie was a fairy tale. The real story of Anastasia had nothing to do with romance. It was about oppression and betrayal.
Well, what's wrong with romance? People like love stories.
Oh, sure, especially women. They're riding to work right now as we speak all over the world, going to some low-paying, demeaning job that barely pays for their rent and their groceries. But none of this matters as long as Cicely Hargrave managed to flash those defiant eyes at the arrogant Lord Beaverbrook as he hands her into his carriage for the masquerade ball. Women love romance, sure. That's why they betray women like Anastasia. It's because women will believe in love, even if it kills them.
That's right. Going through life addicted to romance, women squander their capacity for radical action on the cheap baubles of the patriarchy.
Well, excuse me for living. I'll go grab that hat.
Okay, I have something to say about this script. Okay, I'm in law school.
Where they teach you to write plays.
Diane, stop talking to her. She's not our mother.
This play is full of legal mistakes.
Arrest me.
And I think this business of adding a character that no one's ever seen before.
I'll play her part. It won't be a problem.
I agree with Athena. I feel like the playwright has taken away a lot of our power by adding this new character.
Look, I made this play better. This is a better play. I'm sorry I couldn't call you in the middle of the night to read to you. Do you think I enjoyed typing up all night?
So what you're saying is you're not responsible for your own actions?
Diane, I can't do this anymore. I give them my blood, my sweat, my tears, my guts. I can't.
All right, listen. This is an important play on an important subject. It's a beautiful play. Tonight is the world premiere. We've all worked very hard. We've learned all the lines just so that we can be absolutely fair and equal with each other. And we're all working together towards this one goal, the empowerment of women. And we have a playwright here who was up all night making the play the best that it could be. And so the least that we can do is show her our gratitude and appreciation.
Sounds to me like the playwright has power over the actors.
The play has power over the actors. And the actors have power over the play. Listen, we have enough real enemies out there. Let's not make enemies of each other.
Let's go. We've got 5 minutes till the curtain opens.
Hey, I'll pass the hat.
Oh.
You passed it last night. This is a collective.
What about me?
She has to go on or the play can happen.
Just give her Anastasia. If she throws up, it'll be in character.
No, not Anastasia, not Anastasia. I mean, besides, anyone can throw up. Watch.
Betty, here! Draw!
First, I can't go first.
Why not?
Well, because I went first last night. This is a collective. I'll go last.
Wait, let me take Andy's name out since you already know his
Hey,
name.
I'll take it out.
So, what is this? The lottery without me? What's going on?
I'm sorry, Amy, we thought everybody was here.
Diane thought.
Oh, sure. I'm going to believe that. Just like I'm going to believe it's the luck of the draw that Anastasia is just going to happen to be the last name in the hat.
It is? Oh, I mean, if it was, it'd be pure coincidence, right? Well, 81 to 1, actually.
Okay, here's your part since we know what you're playing. Now
Hey.
let's draw.
Wait a minute, not so fast. I saw that. What's with giving the name to her?
Show up on time and maybe you'd catch a clue.
Hey, my bus was late. Let me see.
There are some changes in the script if you want to look
Oh, Annie Jennings? Who wants her anyways? You can have her every night.
Look.
In fact, if I ever draw her, I'll give her to you.
Look, I'm drawing my part. Anyone else want to know who they're playing tonight?
Oh my god! Ew, what am I gonna do now? I can't even draw.
Oh, do not touch that. Do not touch that.
Okay, everybody say what you do so then we can figure figure out Betty's part by process of elimination?
So to speak.
Defense attorney?
She can't play that. That's one of the biggest parts in the entire show.
We have to let her trade with someone.
Diane, let me trade with her. Let me trade.
What did you get?
Nurse Taya.
Oh, you just want to trade so you can show for the critics.
And what about you? What did you get?
Baroness Sophie Buxhoveden.
Oh, lucky.
I'm not complaining.
And you, what'd you get?
Shura.
That's a good part.
Not as good as Nurse Taya.
And what about you? What did you get?
Clara Puther, the bag lady.
What about you, Diane?
Prosecuting attorney.
Congratulations.
Best role in the show. What a coincidence.
What are you saying?
You passed that hat.
But it was on Diane's makeup table, wasn't it? Plenty of time for her to palm it and fake drawing one.
Okay. Athena, what did you get?
Anastasia.
No, I'm ruined!
Well, that means you must be the bailiff.
I can't be the bailiff. The bailiff has almost as many lines as the attorneys.
That's right. And the bailiff talks to the audience.
Oh, what am I gonna do?
You could always trade.
No! No trades. We've already violated the system once tonight. Enough!
The curtain's opening soon. We should probably get going.
Diane, here are the rewrites for the attorneys.
Thank you.
Where's our defense attorney?
She's in the bathroom. Here, I'll give them to her. Let's go. Betty's got to open the show.
Come on, Betty.
No,
Up on your feet. You're going to do
5 minutes to curtain, you two.
You're going to do so good.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Me? Yeah, sure. What's up?
I need to ask a favor.
What is it?
I have to leave after intermission, and I want you to tell the others I got sick.
You're leaving the theater?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I got this booking a couple of months ago, before I got in the play.
You're in another show?
It's a cabaret spot at the Eastland Hotel.
A nightclub act?
Yeah.
So, you have another show, and you're asking to leave the theater in the middle of our show so you can be in this nightclub gig.
I have to. They're paying me
They're paying you?
$300.
I can't believe it.
Look, I don't care what you believe. You're lucky I showed up anyway. I wasn't going to, but since some of the parts are in the first act, I decided to come and see what I got. And Sophie's in the first act.
But the critics are coming tonight.
This is women's theater. They're not going to get it anyways. Look, do me this favor and tell the others I got sick, and I'll let you trade roles with me for the rest of the run.
But we can't.
Sure we can. Stand next to me when we draw, and if you like what I have, it's yours.
But you're being here the rest of the shows, right?
So far.
Where did everyone go?
Oh, they're changing. It's almost curtain.
Gotta put on all those lawyer clothes.
You don't have to play the attorney. We decided it was unfair to you to carry such a big role when you were feeling so sick.
Okay, so who am I?
Anastasia.
Oh.
You don't have to say anything.
I'm not too sick to do a good job as the attorney, but a part of me was excited to do it anyways. I'll probably never draw it again.
Oh, I brought your costume so you can change in the wings and not have to put up with all the craziness in the dressing room.
Thanks, Athena. That was really thoughtful.
Of course. No problem. Here you go.
So, who's the defense attorney?
I am.
Oh, well, you'll probably do a better job than I would.
Who knows? Have a good show.
You too.
Betty, get on stage!
Good evening. Welcome to the Court of Women. That's it. That's all I remember. Okay. Okay. Look, I don't know any of my lines, and that's kind of gonna be a real problem for both of us.
Just make it up.
What?
Just improv.
I can do that?
Yes.
Okay. Here goes. Hey, I don't know any of my lines, but I have a general idea of what they say. So, I'll tell you that, and then we'll go from there. Oh, but if you take a rain check, the odds are 81 to 1 that someone else entirely will be the bailiff tomorrow night.
Oh, they can't know that. What? They can't know that.
Oh, sorry. Wasn't supposed to say that. Okay, here we go. Okay. Welcome to the court. I'm the bailiff. This is the courtroom. Here is where Anastasia sits. And here's where her attorney sits. She's the plaintiff. And then these are the chairs for the defendants. There's 5 of them. Only one of them is going to be someone else until the second act, which is kind of confusing, but I mean, it's a pretty confusing play, so you might as well get used to it.
Betty! What? Can't I say anything? It's fine. Everybody's a critic. I'm doing okay.
Okay, where was I? Right, the courtroom. Okay, here is where the witness sits. Now you'll notice that there's no judge's bench or jury box. And that's on purpose, because we don't have any. But the playwright says that's because in the court of women, every woman is a judge. But me, I got my own ideas about it.
You can't give your own opinion?
Can't I say anything? Anyway, from the role of an actor, a judge would be kind of a issue because if I were rotating parts every night, so if I played the judge, I would have to condemn someone I played the night before. And no one wants to judge themselves, or the person they used to be, or are, or might be in the future. Anyway, away with the judge. But here's the catch. You can't have a trial without a verdict, right? What's the point? So, you all are going to be the judge and the jury. Yeah, I'd be miffed too. We advertise a play, and then you pay us money, and then when you get here, we tell you that you're the jury. Yeah, I'd be mad.
You Betty, they don't care.
Hey, audiences have rights too, you know. Anyway, the role of the jury is really easy. All you gotta do is have an opinion, like you don't already, even though we haven't even started yet, am I right? Can't I say anything? How am I doing? Am I doing okay? Everybody clap! Yeah! Thank you. Okay, see if anyone else gets a private ovation tonight. Anyway, it's really easy. You all, in your programs, you have those red and green cards, right? Like traffic lights. Okay, pull them out. So basically, when I call for the motion, like an objection, you hold up a red card if you want what's going on to stop happening. And you hold up a green card if you want what's going on to keep going. Easy, like stop and go, traffic lights, right? Okay, great. Okay, let's try it.
What are you doing?
Hey, they've never done it before. Okay, so I'll call for a motion once a lawyer pops up with I object, and you want what's going on to stop happening. What do you do? Show me. Yeah, everyone got it. Perfect. Okay, red card. Now, a lawyer pops up with I object, and you want what's going on to keep happening. What do? Perfect. And I'll count them, and then we'll see what happens. Great. Okay. Oh, look. Here comes Anastasia and her attorney, Diane. Guess you don't need me anymore.
Athena, what are you doing here?
Defending my clients.
But you're supposed to be Anastasia. Who's this? You're supposed to be the defense attorney. What is going on?
Do you need some time to consult with your client?
You mean I wasn't supposed to trade?
No, you weren't.
Bailiff, you have a line.
Oh, all rise. All rise. Yeah, everybody up. All rise. Okay, the women's court is now in session. Oh, you can sit down.
Good evening, women of the jury and sisters. Tonight, you are going to hear a case about a woman who was denied her identity. Denied it by women she loved, women she trusted, women she depended on. And you can see all too well the tragic consequences of these betrayals. This woman you see here, this woman you see cowering under her coat, was once one of the most celebrated women in all of Europe. The Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanov. But that life ended tragically for her on the night of July 17th, 1918, when she was ripped from her bed, led into the dark courtyard of her Siberian prison, and forced to witness the massacre of her entire family. There, in that courtyard, this girl, and girl she was, for she was only 17 at the time, would have also been murdered, had it not been for the fact that the body of her older sister, Tatiana, fell on top of her, shielding her from the worst of the bayonet lances that followed the shooting. Rescued by a soldier who had been ordered to bury the bodies, she escaped to Berlin, where she jumped in the Landwehr Canal on February 18, 1920. Refusing to give her name to the police that found her, she was considered insane and sent to Daldorf Mental Institution, where she spent the next 4 years suffering in silence. Finally, she told her secret, and her painful ordeal should have ended. She should have come into the legacy left for her as the only surviving member of the Russian aristocracy. She should have been able to rest, to heal from these horrendous experiences. But this did not happen. She was denied, libeled, cheated, abandoned. This woman you see here today was denied her identity by other women. Women who were motivated by greed and jealousy. Women who abused her because she was a survivor. And how many of you know the special torment of being denied your identity? I ask you to give my client a hearing, sisters, a fair hearing. I ask you to hear this case as if you were my client who has been so brutalized by her experiences, so tortured by her betrayers. I ask you to stand in my client's shoes as you hear this case. Because this woman that you see here today, cowering in fear, could have been and might still be any one of you.
Women of the jury, you have just heard a very eloquent plea from my esteemed colleague. A plea to render justice to this unfortunate woman by turning in a verdict of guilty against these 5 women. I want to assure you that I want justice for this woman just as much as my colleague does. She certainly has been the victim of a terrible fate, and her suffering is obvious to all of us. I am not here to argue that. But what it will do is turn 5 innocent women into scapegoats, convicted criminals. It is my intention to prove that every woman is responsible for her own identity. It is my intention to prove that this is not a perfect world, that every single woman is responsible for her own identity, and that our justice system exists to mediate the disputes caused by this imperfect world, not to impose a utopian social order, as my colleague seems to think. This mythology of sisterhood is tearing women apart. It is keeping us locked in patterns of dependence and submission. Women of the jury, it is a grave mistake to think that holding each other up to some mythical standard of perfection is going to bring us any closer to justice.
Just gonna stand there?
What else am I supposed to do, Diana? Tell me.
Pull it, maybe?
Oh, I can't pull it until you latch things up. Okay, stop.
I did.
Okay.
Okay, the court calls Taya Malinovsky to the stand. State your name, please.
Taya Malinovsky.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Taya, what do you do?
I work as a nurse at the Daldorf Mental Asylum.
And would you state your connection to the plaintiff?
Her grandduchess.
You may call her Anastasia. That is her name.
Anastasia was a patient at the ward when I worked there.
And so you knew who she was?
Well, no one knew who she really was. We all called her Fräulein Unbekannt.
So you called her Miss Unknown.
Yes?
That doesn't seem very respectful or therapeutic, does it?
Objection.
Oh, here we go.
Withdrawn.
Oh, off the hook for now. now.
Would you like to be called Miss Unknown?
Well, she wouldn't tell us her name.
Please just answer the question. Would you like to be called Miss Unknown?
No.
And did you know of her history?
Well, no. No one knew her history. All I knew was that she had come from Berlin, where she had jumped off a bridge, and that she wouldn't tell anyone who she was.
But she did tell someone, didn't she? She told you, didn't she?
Yes.
And how did she do that?
One night on my shift, I was working at the nurse's station, and Anastasia came up to talk to me. She always did that. She never slept. And this specific night, she told me she had something to show me. I asked her to bring it to me, but she insisted that I come to her room. And so I did. And she pulled a magazine out from under her mattress. It was from the hospital library. She pointed to the picture on the cover and asked if I noticed anything special about it.
And can you tell the jury what it was a picture of?
It was a photo of the imperial family of Russia.
Tsar Nicholas and his wife and kids?
Yes.
And did you notice anything special about it?
Well, not at first. I didn't know what she wanted.
But she told you to look closer, didn't she?
Yes.
And when you looked closer, did you notice anything?
I noticed that that Anastasia looked like one of the daughters in the photo.
And did you tell her this?
No, not at first.
No. Why did you not tell her this? Can you tell the jury?
Well, I wanted to test her.
To test her? And why would you want to test her?
Well, it was a mental asylum.
Okay. And so after this test, what did the patient do?
She asked me to look closer.
And did you test her again?
No, I didn't.
And what did you see?
Well, I admitted to her there was a resemblance.
And now, Taya, this is very important. Did you believe Fraulein Unbekannt?
Well, I did at the time.
But you did at the time, and so obviously you told your supervisor.
No?
No, you discovered that the youngest daughter of the Tsar of Russia has escaped the massacre at Yekaterinburg. And has turned up in a mental institution in Berlin, and you don't tell your supervisor.
No, I didn't.
And did you tell anyone?
I told my boyfriend.
You told your boyfriend. And why did you tell him?
Well, I wanted his advice.
And what did he say?
Well, he laughed and said, "It's a mental institution. What do you expect?"
And is this when you changed your mind about Fraulein Unbekannte's identity?
Yes, I did.
No further questions, your witness.
Taya, was this your first job as a nurse?
Yes.
And this job was important to you, wasn't it?
Objection, irrelevant.
Taya's motives in not reporting this episode to her supervisor are precisely what she is here being tried for. I intend to prove that Taya felt her job would be in jeopardy, and that this was of great concern to her.
Nurse Malinowski's attachment to her job is irrelevant from the fact that she knew who my client was, and she deliberately withheld this information from those who were in power to do something about it.
Okay. Can she ask Taya why she needed the job? Green for yes, red for no. Okay, overruled.
And this job was important to you, wasn't it?
It was.
Can you explain why it was so important?
Well, I had just finished nurse's school and had many debts to pay. I was also supporting my sister and her baby because her husband had just left them.
And what would have happened to your sister if you had lost your job?
She would have had to give up the baby.
Thank you. And Nurse Malinowski, is it your job as a nurse to diagnose the patients at Daldorf Hospital?
Objection, we're not talking about diagnoses, we're talking about identity.
I intend to prove that to the medical profession, the two are the same thing.
The medical profession is not on trial here. Taya Malinowski, who knew who my client was and did nothing about it, is on trial.
Nurse Malinowski is on trial. And I intend to prove that it was of her understanding that to make the report was a violation of her job description.
Okay. Can she ask Taya if nurses are supposed to diagnose? Green for yes, red for no. What'll it be? Ooh, sustained.
During your training, did they tell you what to expect when you went on the wards?
Oh, yes, our training was very thorough.
And what did they tell you to expect?
They told us that the patients were very ill, but they would try to convince us that they were sane. They would do anything to win our sympathy. They would claim to be maybe political prisoners, government enemies, secret agents. They would do anything to get our sympathy so we would help them get out.
They might even claim to be lost members of some royal family.
Objection, leading the witness.
Withdrawn. Did you think about this warning when Fräulein Unbekannt told you that she was the Grand Duchess of Russia?
Yes, I did.
And this was your boyfriend's interpretation too, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Could you tell the jury, please, your boyfriend's occupation?
He's a doctor.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Okay, you can step down. The court calls Clara Puthert to the stand. Clara Puthert to the stand, please.
All right, don't get your panties in a wad.
You don't have to. Okay, can you state your name, please?
Why? You just told everybody. Twice.
Well, it's part of the swearing in.
The swearing in? What the heck is that?
Clara, you are in the court of women, and if you refuse to cooperate, you will be held in contempt of court. Do you understand?
What's your name?
Diane, are you going to cooperate?
Let me tell you something, Diane. I've been held in contempt my whole life. My whole life, do you hear? And I'm talking contempt. Real contempt.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do you?
Wait, that's not in the script. You're not supposed to say
Well,
that.
do you?
Yeah?
Well, and so do I. If it's good enough for the bailiff, it's good enough for Clara Puthert.
Clara, can you tell the court where you first met Anastasia?
Can you?
Please just tell the court where you first met Anastasia.
I want to plead the fifth. Oh, here it is.
Clara, are you clear of mind?
Objection! The defendant is... Just because the defendant does not answer the questions to your liking does not mean that her judgment is impaired.
Very well then, I withdraw the question. You met my client at Waldorf Mental Institution, didn't you?
Yes.
And you were a patient on her ward, weren't you?
Why are you asking me? You seem to know all the answers.
You were a patient on her ward, were you not?
Yes.
And why were you at Waldorf?
Why don't you ask Taya, or is that a diagnosis?
Why were you committed to Waldorf?
My neighbors thought I stole some money from them.
So why did they send you to a mental institution?
Born lucky, I guess. Ask Taya's boyfriend.
Okay. And how did you come to recognize Anastasia?
It was easy. Anybody with half a brain, no offense Taya, could see that she wasn't your ordinary fruitcake.
And what do you mean?
She wouldn't socialize with any of the other inmates, and she wouldn't go outside unless the nurses had made sure that everybody else had come in. And she had this way of moving her head, like she was giving you permission to speak or like she was dismissing you. Anybody who had spent time around members of the royal family could recognize that immediately. But then again, the nurses wouldn't know anything about that.
And when did you have the opportunity to study members of the upper class?
I was a governess in Moscow.
That's interesting. I understood you were a laundress.
I don't give a crap what you understood. Do you understand that?
I will warn you about contempt.
Yeah, well, you get to call me a washerwoman and a liar, and then threaten me with a jail sentence, and you want to call it contempt. Just who's denying whose identity here?
I will ask the questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, you do that, and I'll try to remember my place.
Do you remember when you first realized who my client was?
I remember I knew she was different my first day on the ward, and then after a week, I knew there were only two sane women at Waldorf, me and her, and that's including those nurses who walked around all day with thermometers up their butts.
And so you...
And I remembered that she looked like somebody I'd seen before, and that she didn't exactly seem to come from the streets, if you know what I mean.
And did she have...
And I I remember reading this article in the Berliner Illustriert Zeitung with a cover story titled "The Truth About the Murder of the Tsar," and I remember that it said there was a rumor that one of the Tsar's daughters was still alive, and that's when I put two and two together and told her I knew who she was, and that's when she began to pull a blanket over her face and cry.
And
after that, she told me that she had this aunt in Germany she wanted me to write to. And I remember that there was nobody else in the whole stinking nut house willing to help her except for Clara Buther.
All right.
Good old, kind-hearted Clara Buther.
Okay.
Clara Buther, who's on trial today because she was just patsy enough to bring the Tsar of Russia's daughter out of the state loony bin.
Thank you, Clara.
You're welcome, Diane.
And did you write to Anastasia's aunt?
Oh yeah, I wrote to the old biddy. Where is she anyway? Where is the great Princess Irene of Prussia? How come she isn't sitting here in the rogues gallery with the rest of us hardened criminals?
I think maybe she...
Good. That's gonna come in handy. You want to know what Princess Irene did? She showed up for dinner one night, introduced herself under a phony name, and pretended not to know her own dead sister's daughter. How's that for humane? How's that for denying identity? You want to know who denied your client's identity? It wasn't Clara Buther. It was Princess Irene and her jerk of a roommate sitting right there. I object.
All right, thank you, Clara. You've made your point. Okay. And did you write to Anastasia's aunt?
You still haven't answered one of my questions. Where's Irene? Didn't she get one of your little subpoenas?
No.
Why not?
I will ask the questions if you don't mind.
Oh, but I do. Where's Irene?
You contacted some of the members of the royal family, didn't you?
Don't remember. Where's Irene?
And you brought one of them to see Anastasia at Daldorf, didn't you?
Don't remember. Where's Irene?
We didn't subpoena Princess Irene because Anastasia did not want to.
This is too much. If you're family, you get to do just whatever you want. But if you're just some poor woman in a state institution trying to do her fellow inmate a favor, well, throw the book at her. Take a vote on that one, why don't you? For every Princess Irene you're protecting, there's always going to be some poor, innocent Clara Buther who's going to get it in the neck for crimes that she didn't commit, and you remember that.
And after Anastasia was released from Daldorf, she moved in with you, didn't she?
Yeah, and a good thing, too. No one else would take her.
And you beat her, didn't you?
Objection. The defendant is not on trial for assault.
The defendant is on trial for denying my client her identity, and a physical violation of a woman is a complete invalidation of her identity.
Okay. Can't she ask Clara about hitting Anastasia? Green for yes, red for no. You know the drill. Okay, overruled.
And so when Anastasia moved in with you, you beat her, didn't you?
I might have slapped some sense into her.
And how many times did you slap some sense into her?
I slapped some sense into her a couple of times. I don't remember when.
Might it have been that when you realized that the royal family was not coming for her, and she wasn't the goose that laid the golden egg and instead a financial liability?
Objection. Leading the witness.
Very well then. Why did you assault Anastasia?
I didn't assault her. I slapped some sense into her.
All right. And so you kicked her out of your house, yes?
Look, I don't run a hotel. The Grand Duchess wasn't paying any rent, and she wasn't doing any of the work either. Here she is, richest woman in all of Europe, with 10 million rubles rotting in some account in the Bank of England. And all she has to do is get the right people to say that she is Anastasia. But does she cooperate? No. Who's out there pounding the pavement? Clara Buther. Who's out there tracking down Russian imperial muckamucks? Clara Buther. Who's out there talking them into paying us a little visit? Clara Buther. And if you think it's easy for a woman who looks like me to go to some Grand Duke and convince him that I'm the Tsar of Russia's daughter's best friend, think again. But I did it. I got them to come see her, and you want to know how she received her visitors? Like that, with a blanket over her head. And you want to know what else? She wouldn't speak any Russian. I'm trying to prove she's the Tsar of Russia's daughter, but she won't say a word of Russian. German, English, French, sure, but Russian, yet. How hard is it to take a blanket off of your head and let some people look at you? So yeah, I throw her out.
Ooh. Thank you.
Hi, Clara. I'm only going to ask you a few questions. You've been up here quite a while.
And I ain't getting paid for it either.
Clara, do you mind telling us something about your childhood?
Objection. Her childhood is irrelevant.
The court is trying to establish some absolute standard for judging interactions between women. I intend to demonstrate that a woman's ethics could be explained by her upbringing.
No, her upbringing does not exempt her from her actions as an adult. This is completely irrelevant.
Okay, Athena wants to ask her about her childhood. Diane doesn't think it's relevant. What's it gonna be? Sustained.
You tried to help Anastasia, didn't you?
Yeah, and a lot of thanks I got for it too. You know, she had more in one day than the rest of us get in our entire lifetime. She had 16 years of luxury and then a couple of hard years after that. Yeah, so what? You gotta be tough to survive.
It was Anastasia's idea to come live with you after she left Daldorf, wasn't it?
Yes, I was her friend.
Thank you, Clara.
Clara, I just have one more question for you.
I can't wait.
Did it ever occur to you that the woman you were slapping some sense into was in fact not a spoiled brat, but instead an emotionally traumatized human being?
That woman? She's no crazier than I am.
Thank you. Call the next witness.
Baroness Sophie Karlovna Buxhoven to the stand, please.
Stinking little traitor! You hit me! Let go! No, you hit me!
Wait, what's going on? This isn't in the script. Hey, what's the idea? This isn't in the script.
Neither is leaving before the second act, is it? Baroness!
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me refresh your memory. The nightclub act at the Eastland Hotel? Tonight? You little snitch!
I didn't say anything.
Did he tell you she was gonna trade roles with me? Did he tell you that?
That's not true.
I move to place Sophie Karlovna Buxhoven under arrest for contempt of court.
She's the one who attacked me! You're the one working out unaccompanied! Athena heard you tell Melissa.
I didn't.
What is going on? This is not part of my play.
Bailiff, arrest that woman, please.
Oh, shove off, Athena! You're no better than she is. You were supposed to play Anastasia tonight. What about that?
I move to place Clara Puser under arrest for assault and battery.
Shut up, Athena!
In contempt of court.
It's not in the script.
Well, it's not Marie's fault.
She is out of character.
Athena's the one trying to steal the show.
I'm not. Bailiff, please do something about them.
Lay a hand on me, Betty! So help me!
Hey, you can't talk to me like that. I'm an actor now.
If it pleases the court, I move that we adjourn for a brief recess.
No, what about my scene? I have to play my scene. You'll have plenty of time to play your scene. In the second act, I won't play it at all. You don't have that choice.
Motion!
But it's not the end of the act.
The motion! Call for it.
Okay, everybody, green cards for a recess. Put them up, put them up, put them up. Yeah, that was good enough. The court is adjourned for a 10-minute recess.
Come on. Betty, come on. Oh, Betty! Flag out, please. Flag out. Thank you. It's not that funny. No, it's not.
Okay. The court calls Baroness Sophie Karlovna Buxhoven to the stand. State your name.
Baroness Sophie Buxhoven.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That'll be the day.
I do.
Baroness, could you state your connection to the plaintiff?
Executioner.
Counselor, please.
I was the maid of honor to the Empress Alexandra.
Anastasia's mother.
Yes, the maid of honor and a member of the imperial suite for 5 years.
And so you lived with the royal family, didn't you?
Yes, I lived with them until the family was sent into exile.
But not in prison?
No,
But you were sent to Siberia also.
I was sent to Siberia in 1917. At the same time, the royal family was exiled, but I did not live with them.
And why not?
The Bolsheviks would not allow it.
But when they moved the family a second time to the prison at Yekaterinburg...
No, I did not live with them there either. I escorted the children on the train to Yekaterinburg.
You were chosen to escort the children to the place where they would die.
I did not know that at the time. We were not even told where the train was going. I was told they would be joining their parents. I tried to make it a happy trip for them.
But you didn't stay with them.
When we arrived at Yurko, At the town the children were taken away at. I did not see them again.
I understood that the family doctor, the cook, the valet, and the serving girl were all allowed to serve the family in prison. Why is it that the Empress's maid of honor was not allowed to join her in prison?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Objection. Asking the witness to speculate.
Not at all. I was wondering if Baroness Buxhoven knew why she was treated so differently from the other members of the royal suite.
I have no idea. Who knows how a Bolshevik thinks?
Another Bolshevik.
And so they shot, bludgeoned, and killed the entire serving staff. The family doctor, the cook, the valet, and the serving girl. But they allowed the maid of honor to go free. In fact, they let her leave the country. Is that right?
I left the country. Yes.
But you were a baroness, were you not? You were a member of the hated aristocracy, yes?
Yes.
And why do you suppose that they let you leave the country? Why do you suppose that? Could it have been that you had done them a favor?
Yeah.
Objection.
Could it have been that you shared certain information?
Yeah.
Objection. This entire line of questioning is based on hearsay and speculation. The question at hand is Baroness Buxhoven's failure to identify the plaintiff during her stay at Daldorf Mental Asylum. These questions are irrelevant and prejudicial.
Okay, very well then. Let's talk about that visit to Daldorf.
Talk about that visit to Daldorf. Baroness, talk about how you murdered that girl twice, you.
Counselor, all right. When did that visit occur?
March 12th, 1922.
That would have been 4 years after the royal family had been killed, would it not?
Yes.
And you were living in Germany, weren't you?
She was living with Princess Irene. They were in on it together.
All right.
Do you want me to answer the questions?
Please.
This woman, Clara Puther, has been stirring up a lot of rumors in the community of immigrants.
Rumors my butt.
Do you want me to continue?
Please.
I was asked to go to Daldorf to visit the invalid and identify her. You see, I was the last member of the imperial suite to see the family before they disappeared.
Before they disappeared, you said?
Before they were disappeared, before they were shot, Baroness, shot in a pile, in a courtyard, hacked to pieces, and incinerated. Get your hands off me. You want the truth? I'm telling it because you won't get it from Baroness Bolshevik over here.
Clara, if the witness is lying, please grant that we have enough intelligence ourselves to figure that out. Thank you. And so you went to Daldorf to identify Anastasia?
No. I went to Daldorf to identify the Grand Duchess Tatiana.
Lies. You knew it was her.
I was told the woman was claiming to be the Grand Duchess Tatiana.
Who told you that?
I went to the ward of the hospital and she was hiding under the blankets.
Hiding from a murderer.
I cannot answer your questions with that woman in the courtroom.
Why? Because I know you're lying? No, why should I leave?
Well, it's in the script. Look, it's like right here.
All right, you see it. Okay, let's go. Who paid you this time, Baroness? Huh? Who paid you this time?
So, Anastasia was hiding under the blankets.
Yes. And so we took the blankets off her face and got her to stand up. And I immediately saw that she was too short to be Tatiana. And I said so.
And what were your exact words?
She's too short for Tatiana.
But you didn't see if she was too short to be Anastasia.
I went there to see if the girl was Tatiana. She was not. And I said so.
And so
It was not my job to see who else she might have been.
And so you left?
Yes.
Immediately?
Yes.
And you did not return for a second visit?
It was not necessary. She was too short to be Tatiana.
Thank you. Your witness.
Baroness, when you rode with the children to Yekaterinburg, did you ask how they had been treated?
It was not something they wanted to talk about. We spoke about happier times, about the scenery.
The girl's been left with members of the Red Army, the Bolsheviks.
Yes.
The girls were not allowed to lock their bedroom doors at night. Do you have any idea why?
Who understands the mind of a Bolshevik?
Did you notice any change in the children from when you had last seen them?
Yes, of course. This is stupid. Yes, of course they were changed. They had been prisoners for a year. I know what you want me to say. They were scared. They were afraid they were going to die. We were all afraid we were going to die. What's the use of talking about it? It was a war. It was a nightmare. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to pull a blanket over my head too? Is that gonna make you all feel sorry for me? It was a war. Do you understand? We were prisoners. Some of us did what we were told. Some of us survived, some of us didn't.
You don't like thinking about this period of your life, do you?
No. What would be the point? There's someone who thinks about it.
Thank you, Baroness. No further questions.
Please call Baroness Anastasia Tolstoy to the stand.
Oh, crap!
Please call Baroness Anastasia Tolstoy to the stand.
Wait, it's supposed to be sure integral mode.
Yeah, there's a new character. It's in the rewrites. Yeah, check the sheets.
Alrighty, okay. Baroness Zenaida Tolstoy to the stand. State your name.
Zenaida Sergeyevna Tolstoy.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Baroness, would you state your connection to the plaintiff?
I was a friend of her mother's, and after Anastasia had left the mental asylum, before she went to Clara's, I nursed her.
Anastasia was ill.
Oh, yes, she had a wound from a bayonet stab in her arm. The doctors had to give her morphine.
So Anastasia was drugged with narcotics.
Yes.
Okay, and you say you nursed her during this time?
Yes, I moved into the sick room with her.
And so how would you say these drugs affected Anastasia?
She was dazed, and she'd only speak Russian, a language she only knew while she was asleep.
And what would she talk about?
The story.
And what story was that?
Well, about the escape and the massacre.
And is it true that prior to the use of morphine, Anastasia would not acknowledge these experiences, would not even acknowledge that she knew Russian?
Yes, that's true.
And so would it be your impression then that the drugs unlocked a certain part of Anastasia's memory that were not available to her conscious mind?
Objection. Counsel is asking the witness to speculate.
Very well. Did Anastasia ever talk about Baroness Buxhovden?
Oh, yes, she referred to her as our Isa.
And what would she say about our Isa?
Objection. Hearsay.
Counselor, that objection is not in my script.
Then I know the law better than the playwright. Third-party hearsay is not admissible as evidence.
I believe that the reason why the playwright wrote Zenaida into the script was because my client cannot testify on her own behalf.
Well, then maybe she should have never filed suit against my clients.
No, the women's court filed suit on her behalf, and on behalf of all victims out there who cannot do so.
Let's not grandstand, please. The issue of justice supersedes the social protocol and the prerogatives of a harried producer who has no training in law.
It's just not your call, Athena. It's in the script.
Let me state my objection plainly then. Women of the jury, Zenaida Tolstoy has been added to this script to report on statements, purportedly, made by a seriously brain-damaged woman who was on the influence of narcotics at the time when she made these statements. Will the women's court allow a woman to be judged and condemned based on the strength of what another woman has overheard about her?
Bravo, counselor. It is clear that my colleague here has experience in the men's court, where, for obvious reasons, they focus on the rights of the accused. However, in the women's court, we focus on the rights of the victims, the survivors, the women who are silenced, censored, erased. We focus on the children who can't quite put the pieces into place. We focus on the rights of teenagers who can't remember anything except their feelings. We focus on the rights of the brain-damaged women, The women like my client whose trauma is so massive she can only access it under heavy sedation or hypnosis. Believe me, nothing would make me happier and nothing would make my life easier than to have my client take the stand, but jury, the very fact that she cannot is the most compelling argument on her behalf. Zenaida Tolstoy has been privy to the inner workings of my client's mind, and I ask that we be able to divulge these inner workings in order to come to a decision about the innocence or guilt of the accused.
Okay. Shh, bailiff, excuse me. Counselor, I may advise you. If Zenaida Tolstoy testifies, I will call Anastasia to the stand to corroborate.
My client is not capable of testifying.
And hearsay is obviously inadmissible.
I'll object.
Then I will appeal to the jury to override your objection.
You are not going to intimidate me, Athena, and I will not allow you to intimidate my client. Bailiff, the ruling on the motion, please.
What was it?
If I can question Zenaida about what she heard Anastasia saying. Come on.
Okay. Can she question Zenaida about what she heard Anastasia say while she was on morphine? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Sustained. I mean, overruled.
Baroness, what did you hear Anastasia say about Baroness Buxhovden?
Anastasia told me that while they were prisoners in Yekaterinburg, her mother and father had talked about how Isa, the Baroness, had changed. She'd become cold and disrespectful. They believed that they had betrayed her rescue plans. That's why they thought she'd changed.
Thank you.
No further questions. I'd like to call Anastasia Romanoff to the stand, please.
Objection! My client is not medically capable of undergoing questioning.
Do you have a doctor's note?
No, it's obvious from her condition!
It's not unheard of for a plaintiff to fake a condition for the benefit of the jury.
I withdraw my objection.
Diane, what are you doing?
Call. Go get her.
Okay. The court calls Anastasia Romanoff to the stand. Let's go.
Oh my God. Okay, never mind.
Shura Tegleva to the stand, please. State your name.
Shura Tegleva.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Shura, would you state your relationship to the plaintiff?
I nursed her from the time she was born.
And did you nurse her in exile?
Yes.
And
I loved her. I love her now.
so, why is it you failed to recognize her?
But that's not true, I did. I came to the hospital when she had the fever. I came and I visited her. She asked for me. I remember that first day she was lying there. So sick, the poor thing. She must not have weighed more than 70 pounds. And I asked them to show me her feet.
Can you tell us why you wanted to see her feet?
The Grand Duchess had very unusual feet. The big toes bent in over the others, forming a bunion. She was born that way, and the right foot was worse than the other. It was always a problem finding shoes for her.
And did you identify the feet?
Oh, yes. I said right out loud, right there in front of the doctors. Those are the feet of the Grand Duchess Anastasia. Those are them. Those are her feet.
And what happened after that?
I came back when she was awake. She'd been asleep the first time. And she took this bottle of cologne by the bed. It was a little Schwipsic.
Schwipsic, what's that?
Imp. She was always full of mischief, so we called her that. It was her nickname, Schwipsic. So anyway, she took the bottle of cologne, the one by the bed, and she poured some of it into my hand. She wanted me to put some of it on her forehead. I laughed so hard the tears ran down my face. They did. She was crazy about perfume. She would always pour it under my hand and pour it all over me and tell me she wanted her Shura to be as fragrant as a bouquet. Who else would have known that?
And so you say you identified Anastasia?
I visited her. She had a kitten in the hospital room. Do you remember Kiki? Kiki.
But you stopped coming.
I lived in Switzerland. I couldn't visit forever, could I?
You stopped writing. You wouldn't answer her letters.
I'm not a writer of letters, I'm sorry.
You stopped writing. You stopped coming. When others came forward, you said nothing.
There were others in a better position to come forward.
But you knew who she was, yet you did nothing.
I was never asked.
The Grand Duchess asked. I believe she said, "Where's Shura? When's my Shura coming?" You know what she said? She said, if they had asked Shura to let herself be shot so that we might live, she would have done it.
You don't understand.
No, apparently I don't.
Hi, Shura. You're married, aren't you?
Yes.
And who is your husband?
Objection. Counsel's now going to try to claim indemnity for her client based on her husband.
My client's cut off contact with Anastasia. I have a right to explore whether this was indifference to her husband's wishes.
Wrong. A woman always has the right to object to her husband's wishes.
Objection, that's not true. You don't have a line here. I had a husband who had guns all over his house, and he wouldn't let me have any friends come over, and when they tried to come over one
This
time...
is not part of my play.
What play? This isn't a play.
Okay. Can she ask Shura about her husband? Green for yes, red for no. Let's see him. Sustained.
So who is your husband?
Monsieur Pierre Gilliard.
He was the tutor for the Tsar's children,
Yes.
wasn't he? And he came with you to see Anastasia in the hospital, didn't he?
Yes.
But these visits were not so happy, were they?
No.
Now, you are under oath, Shura. Why were they unhappy?
She would not speak to him.
And why was that?
He would ask her about the things that happened at the end.
And she would not talk about that, would she?
No.
Why was your husband so rude?
I never said he was rude.
I know, I did. Why on earth would he ask her about such things?
He had been asked to see her
By whom? You are under oath.
by members of her family.
Members who would not come themselves?
No.
Members who wanted the world to believe that Anastasia was an imposter?
I don't know, please.
Shura, I am defending you, okay? So, she was happy to see you because she splashed her kitten with her cologne and was so happy to see her Shura, but was not happy to see your husband, was she?
No.
And did this cause problems in your marriage?
Yes.
You know, your husband wrote a book shortly after this, didn't he? And it was so popular, he went all over Europe giving lectures on the subject, didn't he? Do you mind telling us the name of that book?
The false Anastasia.
Thank you.
No questions.
I would like to recall Zinaida Tolstoy to the stand, please.
This isn't in the script. Athena, when you go off book like this, none of us know what's going on. You're making yourself look good at our expense.
I just want to point something out. I just want to say that when my character has a few spontaneous remarks, in character, mind you, she gets hauled off the stage. But when the daughter of a rich man, who just so happens to be playing an attorney through some miraculous displacement of the collective process, when this rich man's daughter wants to rear out the entire show, everyone is willing to go along with it. Enough is enough!
That's right. Because there's more to art than just entertainment. That's the whole point of the show. It's not a love story. Women have been riding on buses and subways all over the world. Well, Lady Cicely bats her eyelashes at the husbands who are waiting back home for their wives to return with the rent and the groceries and the cheap subway straps. That is what the real story of Anastasia is all about.
This isn't happening.
Where are we?
I'm leaving.
No, you're not.
Oh, come on, Betty. You're not even an actor. You're just a stupid stagehand.
No. No. I am an actor. I'm an actor. I'm the bailiff. I'm the bailiff. I am the bailiff.
What?
I'm the bailiff, and this is my courtroom. And you will sit down, Baroness. And now, the bailiff would like to call Zenaida Tolstoy to the stand, please.
Why not?
State your name. Do you swear?
Well, she's still under oath.
Oh.
You mentioned earlier that you nursed the plaintiff at a time when she was under sedation. Is that true?
Yes.
And that during that time, she told her story.
Yes.
Did she mention her marriage to the soldier that rescued her?
She did.
And did she give her reason for marrying him?
Well, she was 5 months pregnant. The baby needed a father.
Did she ever tell you where her son is?
Objection!
On what grounds?
On the grounds that this was not in the original script and I have not had time to prepare a defense.
May I remind you that your client is the plaintiff. I am the one doing the defending.
Athena, we both know that's not the problem here.
Then maybe you will allow me to finish my examination of Baroness Tolstoy so that you can tell us what the issue is. I'm sorry, did she ever mention where her child is?
No one knows.
Not even the mother?
No, she left him in Romania.
Did the community of Russian immigrants know anything about the baby?
Well, they had heard the rumors about the baby and the marriage.
And how did they respond?
They were curious about who would have the throne next.
Can you be more specific?
Well, if Anastasia was who she said she was, the Tsar's daughter, and if the rumors about the baby were true, then any orphan boy in Romania could lay claim to the throne. It's an impossible situation.
So, this would explain the motive behind a community of Russian immigrants paying a man like Pierre Gilliard to publish a book on the false Anastasia, don't you think?
Oh yes, the movement was highly organized.
So, this would explain why a woman like Shura Teglova might stop visiting, because her loyalty to Russia is greater than her loyalty to one Grand Duchess.
Yes. Thank you, your witness.
And you? What position did you take?
I sided with the family.
In other words, you supported Anastasia's denial of her identity in order to preserve the family name.
If Anastasia was loyal to the family name, she would have concealed the existence of the baby.
No, Anastasia was loyal to herself. To Anastasia, why is that so bad?
Why is she trying to claim an identity based on her father's name? It's his title, his money, his country, isn't it? Women don't just have that on their own.
Should I call the next witness?
No,
What's the matter?
she's right. The playwright's right. I'm asserting a claim to my client's identity that was never hers. I don't know how to proceed.
It doesn't matter what the actor thinks, Diane. Just play your part.
But how can I do that when I don't believe in it anymore?
Ask Diane. That's what we all do.
We have to finish the show.
No, we don't. The great Diane Anthony is having a moral crisis, so we should all stop what we're doing and await the outcome.
I don't want you to have to wait.
Oh, then we won't. Just tell us what you want us to do, and we'll do it.
Hey,
Jeez Louise, it's just a part.
get off her back.
I've got something to say. I think you're all hypocrites, including you, Diane. This woman is sick. She's sick. Do you think she cares about any of this? Do you think she cares about this court business? Do you think she wants to be here?
I do. I'm a survivor, and I sure would love to see all of my betrayers sitting here in a court of women.
And what's that going to do for your pain?
Make me feel like there's a little bit of justice.
Yeah, well, I came here tonight so sick, I didn't think I could perform. And none of you cared about that. You with your precious script, you with your politics, you with your critics, and you with your big ideas about changing the world. No one cared about me as long as I didn't mess up the show. And then Athena here, my pal, she tricked me into giving up the lead so she could have it. but I'm still sick, and I still lost a lead role, and making all of you go sit in those chairs over there isn't going to make me feel any better or give me back my chance to play the lead. You know what? I'm out of the theater company. Diana's having a hard time figuring out whether or not Anastasia deserved her daddy's money, but you know what? Anastasia isn't going to get it anyways, so who cares? If she'd figured out what the score was in 1922, she might have made a new life for herself, but it's people like you, people trying to work off their own guilt. Don't you get it? It's gone. The kingdom we had as little girls that we thought was ours, it's gone, and it's never coming back. And all the courtrooms and trials in the world aren't going to bring it back. Never! It's gone, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone! I don't want your help! I don't want to be somebody other than a victim before this whole thing's over and it's too late. I want to be the prosecuting attorney. And I want you to be Anastasia. Here, be sure to put that over your head. It's in the script. And you. I want you to be Annie Jennings.
Okay, the court calls Annie Jennings to the stand. Get up. State your name.
Annie Burr Jennings.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Miss Jennings, could you please tell us about your relationship to the plaintiff, please?
During Anastasia's stay in New York, I entertained her in my home.
Aren't you being a little modest, Miss Jennings? Hadn't you invited her to live with you on a more permanent basis?
The original offer of hospitality had been open-ended.
But it certainly became closed-ended, didn't it?
Objection.
Withdrawn. Miss Jennings, did my client travel all the way to America to take advantage of your hospitality?
No, she originally came to live with a relative in Oyster Bay, but of course she was impossible and they had to ask her to leave.
And that is when you made your open-ended offer?
Yes.
But you knew that she was a difficult house guest.
Oh, yes, everyone knew she was out of her mind.
Then I'm having trouble understanding why you would invite the Grand Duchess Anastasia into your home.
You know, in retrospect, I'm having trouble understanding that myself.
Then perhaps we can help each other discover a motive. You are a wealthy woman, aren't you, Athena?
That's Annie Jennings! And wealth is a relative concept.
But your father is the original chairman to the board of Standard Oil, isn't he?
Yes.
Then is it safe to say that you are not without anything money can buy?
It would be safe to say that I provide myself with the things necessary for my comfort.
And yet there are still some things that money can't buy, aren't there?
Love?
And titles.
Objection.
Very well then. Miss Jennings, it was stated in the societal columns that you intended to adopt Anastasia. Is that true?
It's true I was in the columns. It's not true, however, that I ever thought about adopting her.
Really? That surprises me. Adopting my client would have made you a part of the royal family of Russia.
Objection.
After 18 months of making Anastasia the toast of New York society, did you or did you not have her incarcerated in a mental asylum? Yes or no? Did you have this woman incarcerated against her will?
Yes.
Thank you. No more questions.
Annie, could you tell us about the plaintiff's behaviors in the time when she was living with you?
Well, she spent money extravagantly. She had credit in my name and she abused it. She was impossible to please. She hated her food, she hated the room, she hated the servants. She began to slander me. She had an enormous persecution complex. When we rode in the car, she would have to pull all the curtains down, and she refused to see doctors when she was sick. She began to believe that I was trying to poison her, so she would only eat crackers in a sealed box. She began attacking people with sticks. One time she ran all the way up my roof with no clothes on, and she would throw heavy objects out her window to attract the police, and she would spend all her time in her room talking to the birds.
And when is it you decided that Anastasia had to go?
Well, she began to talk about killing herself, and she was very convincing.
Thank you.
You stated that my client had a persecution complex.
Oh, yes.
Do you mean to say that she thought people were out to get her?
Yes.
And were they?
No.
Really? Were the Bolsheviks who exiled her, imprisoned her, and shot her with her family out to get her? Was someone out to get her when she had to hide in the back of a hay wagon, desperately ill from her head injury, just to get out of Russia alive?
Yes.
And was someone out to get her when the entire community of Russian emigrants refused to identify her and left her to rot in a Berlin mental asylum?
Yes.
And you say she had a persecution complex. Anastasia refused doctors when she was sick. Do you have any idea how they treat women in public mental institutions?
No.
No, of course you don't. So she distrusted doctors and she refused poisoning. Are you aware that the imperial family of Russia had to make continual provisions against being poisoned, that this was part of being a Tsar's daughter?
I had never thought of anything.
No, Miss Jennings, of course. You hadn't thought. And so one day a nurse and 2 orderlies, 2 men, came to get her without any warning. Isn't that true?
I consulted with 3 doctors.
Doctors who had never examined her.
She wouldn't let them.
And isn't it true that these 2 orderlies had to break down the door, and when they did, they found her cowering in the corner of the bathroom, and they dragged her away? I have one more question. Do you have any idea why she preferred the company of birds over people? Thank you.
Oh, my bad, Diane. Lord. You're the one pulling it.
Being sassy.
Okay, believe it or not, it's time for the closing arguments.
Women of the jury, there is little I can add to what you've already heard tonight. These 5 women all recognize the Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanov, and they all betrayed her. It is your duty to find them guilty of denying her her identity, a denial for which she has paid dearly and for which she will pay every day for the rest of her life. It is only fair that these 5 perpetrators are held accountable in the court of women.
Five perpetrators. An emotionally charged word to use in a room full of women. All right, I ask you to look at these 5 perpetrators now. Shura Teglova, Clara Buford, Taya Malinowski, Sophie Buxhoven, Annie Jennings. I ask you to look at these women in the harsh glare of this courtroom, removed from their environments, their motivations laid out bare in front of you. How many of us would like to be these women? Women who were threatened with the loss of their family, women who were desperately poor, women who were threatened with the loss of employment, with the loss of their very lives, and in the case of the last defendant, with a great deal of agonizing. Women who were presented with a situation in which all of the choices were bad. How can we know that we would have made different decisions in their shoes? I know I can't, and I know that you can't either.
It is not, as my esteemed colleague has phrased it, whether we ourselves are guilty of similar betrayals. The question is, are we willing to be held accountable for the harm that we do to other women? Let us dare to indict ourselves. Let us dare to say these words. No more betrayals, no more denial. Let us force other options into being.
Let us dare to make a new world.
Okay. Will the defendants please rise? Okay. Does the jury find these women guilty of denying Anastasia Romanoff her identity? Green for innocent, red for guilty. And the court finds these women guilty.
Wait, what do I do now? That's all it says.
You adjourn.
No sentencing?
This is the court of women.
So it's just over?
It's over. And you can all find yourself another actor.
Amy.
Whatever. They voted against me.
It's all about charisma, isn't it? Nothing to do with equality.
I think they were just looking for scapegoats.
So what are we doing about tomorrow?
What do you mean?
Well, we'll never find another actor who could memorize the entire show in 24 hours.
We'll find an actor to permanently play Anastasia, and the rest of us can use the lottery.
You mean we're gonna assign a permanent victim?
Business as usual.
I mean, we could close the show, or we could close the company.
Should I take a vote?
What is the vote?
Do we cast the victim or close the show?
All
the
right.
company.
All in favor of closing the theater company, say aye.
Aye. Diane?
I have to abstain. I don't know what's right anymore.
Okay. All in favor of keeping it open, say aye.
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 So it looks like we're going mainstream.
Wait a minute, I haven't voted. I vote to close the theater.
So it's a tie. 3 for, 3 against, and 1 abstaining.
Aren't you forgetting about the bailiff?
That's right. Betty, we win. That's 4 votes to close the company. The Emma Goldman Theater Brigade is officially disbanded.
No, I vote to keep it open.
You what?
I vote to keep it open.
Betty, the only reason you got to act tonight was because of the lottery system. And now you want to do away with it?
You're not gonna empower yourself by oppressing someone else.
That's right.
Okay.
No, that's not right. Guys, come on. We have to keep going, no matter what. There's no use in giving up. Nobody learns anything from that. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? I got to act. I'm a techie, and I got to act.
Back it up.
Everybody in the audience, show me some green.
Go home.
I got to act.
Eddie, off stage.
No, I did it.
Yeah, you did great.
No, I did the whole play.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Yeah, you were good. You were good. You were good. You were good.
Not 6 hours.
It's okay. It was not 6 hours.